I welcome you all for Standard 6th subject General Science. Students, we will be starting with chapter number 15, Fun with Magnets. My name is Ms. Jagjeet Kaur. So before starting with the chapter, let us see what are the learning objectives. Students, you will be learning about magnets and the shapes of magnets in this chapter. Then you will be understanding what are the characteristics of magnets and the different types of magnets. Then what are the uses of magnets and how is magnetism destroyed. Students, now can you tell that pins in a pin holder do not fall even when it is held upside down? Why is this so? Correct. Magnet is fitted in the cap of the pin holder, which attracts and holds the pins. Due to this attraction, the pins do not fall even when held upside down. Now the second question, while we are shutting the door of a fridge, we find that it closes automatically from a certain distance and does not open unless pulled again. Why is this so? Correct. Magnetic strips are fitted to the door and door jamb. Body of fridge is made up of magnetic material. Hence, when a door is at a certain distance, it gets pulled due to magnetic force and shuts. These strips enable door to form a tight seal and magnetic force holds the door shut unless pulled open again. Now students, what is magnet? The material to which objects made from iron, nickel, cobalt, etc. get attracted is called a magnet. And this property of material is called magnetism. Now students, let's try this. Take a mixture of sand, pieces of paper, sawdust, iron filing and pins in a saucer and pass a magnet around the mixture. What do you see? Yes, we observe that the iron filings and the pins stick to the magnet, whereas the pieces of paper, sand and sawdust do not stick to the magnet and remain in the saucer. Now students, let us understand about magnetic and non-magnetic materials. Now first, what are magnetic materials? The materials that stick to a magnet are called magnetic materials, and examples of magnetic materials are metals like iron, cobalt and nickel. Now, what are non-magnetic materials? The materials that do not stick to a magnet are called non-magnetic materials. For example, sand, paper, plastic, wood and rubber. There is a legend about the discovery of magnets. It is said that a shepherd named Magnus lived in Greece. Once, while his sheep were grazing, he sat down on a big rock. But what a surprise he got when he tried to get up. His staff and his shoes were stuck to the rock. He had to use great force to pull himself away from the rock. He realized that what had happened was because of the iron ferrule on his staff and the iron nails in his shoes. Now students, what is ferrule? Ferrule is a band usually made of metal around something such as a stick or handle. However, other rocks did not stick to his shoes or staff. Later he showed the rock to everybody. The rock was named magnetite after Magnus the shepherd. Magnetite is a natural magnet. It is also possible that the name magnet came from Magnesia, the part of Greece where magnets were discovered. Students, now find out how is mariner's compass used. Yes, a mariner's compass is a device that is used to show directions to a ship in a sea. It consists of a small box covered with glass. The box of the compass contains a circular dial with directions north, south, east and west marked on it. A magnetic needle which can rotate freely is pivoted inside the box. This magnetic needle of the compass settles in the north-south direction, thus helping the sailors to know the directions. Now students, it was known quite long ago to the people in China and Europe that a piece of magnetite hung freely always settled in the north-south direction. These rocks then came to be used for finding the directions while traveling through unknown regions. That is why they are called lodestones, that is the leading stones. And this led to the invention of the mariner's compass. Now magnets can have a variety of shapes depending upon their uses. Today, magnets are used in many machines and gadgets or devices. They are all man-made magnets. Bar magnets, disc magnets, horseshoe magnets, ring-shaped magnets, cylindrical magnets, and also small button magnets are the different shapes of magnets in the everyday use. Students, now let's learn about the characteristics of magnet. So the first characteristic is that a magnet always settles in the north-south direction. Then the second characteristics of a magnet is the magnetic force is concentrated at the two poles of a magnet. Now the two poles are the south pole and the north pole. The end of a magnet that points to the north is called the north pole, while the end that points to the south is called the south pole. The north pole is indicated by letter N and the south pole is indicated by the letter S. Now the third characteristic is that the two poles of a magnet cannot be separated from each other, and two independent magnets are formed when a magnet is cut into two pieces. Then the fourth characteristic of a magnetism is induced magnetism. Now when a magnetic material is placed near a magnet, it acquires magnetism. So this magnetism is called as induced magnetism. Then the next characteristic is that opposite, that is unlike poles of a magnet attract each other, and like poles of a magnet repel each other. And when a magnet is rubbed over a magnetic material from its one end to the other many times, magnetic objects acquire magnetism and it lasts for a short while and hence termed as temporary magnetism. Students, now let's learn about the types of magnet. So the first magnet is electromagnet. Now the material in which magnetism is produced by the application of an electric current is called an electromagnet. And this type of magnetism is temporary. The magnetic property of the material is lost when the electric current is switched off. For example, doorbell and crane. Now the next type of magnet is permanent magnets. Now the materials in which the property of magnetism is permanent are called permanent magnets. A mixture of nickel, cobalt and iron are used to make permanent magnets. For example, alnico. Alnico is a mixture of aluminium, nickel and cobalt. Students, now let's understand the uses of magnets. Now the first use of magnet is that electromagnets are used in doorbells. Then permanent magnets are used in pin holder and in door of the cupboard. Cranes attached with magnets are used to shift the large objects from one place to other in factories and ports. User information is stored in the strip of magnetic materials in ATM and credit cards. Magnetic materials are also used in storage devices such as hard disk, compact disc, and audio or video tapes. Then maglev train functions using the property of electromagnetism and repulsion between magnets, and magnetic needle is used in mariner's compass. Now students, the British scientist Michael Faraday developed the technique of producing electricity with the help of a magnet. Michael Faraday was born in a poor family. As a young boy, he had to work with a bookseller. There, he read many books and developed an interest in science. Later, he went on to do research at the Royal Institution in London. It is due to Faraday's research that today we can use electricity and electromagnetism in innumerable instruments in our day-to-day life. Now students, let's have some information about maglev train. Now maglev, this word is derived from magnetic levitation, and maglev is a system of train transportation that uses two sets of magnets. One set to repel and push the train up off the track, and another set of magnet to move the elevated train ahead, taking advantage of the lack of friction. With maglev technology, there is just one moving part, the train itself. The train travels along a guideway of magnets which control the train's stability and speed. Now students, how is magnetism destroyed? Magnetism gets destroyed when a magnet is heated, thrown, knocked about or broken into pieces. Therefore, it is important to store magnets carefully. A piece of soft iron is placed in the box in which a magnet is kept. The bar of soft or pure iron protects a magnet. Therefore, such a bar is called a magnet keeper. So students, this was the end of the chapter. Now let us summarize what we have learned in this chapter. So we learned that the material to which objects made from iron, nickel, cobalt, etc. get attracted is called a magnet, and this property of a material is called magnetism. Then magnetic materials are the materials that stick to a magnet. Metals like iron, cobalt and nickel are the magnetic materials. And the materials that do not stick to a magnet are called non-magnetic materials. For example, sand, paper, plastic, wood, rubber. Bar magnets, disc magnets, horseshoe magnets, ring-shaped magnets, cylindrical magnets, and small button magnets are the various shapes of magnets in everyday use. A magnet always settles in the north-south direction, and the magnetic force is concentrated at the two poles of a magnet. Two poles of a magnet cannot be separated from each other. Two independent magnets are formed when a magnet is cut into two pieces. And when a magnetic material is placed near a magnet, it acquires magnetism, and this magnetism is called as induced magnetism. and opposite, that is unlike poles of a magnet, attract each other while like poles of a magnet repel each other. And when a magnet is rubbed over a magnetic material from its one end to the other many times, magnetic objects acquire magnetism, and it lasts for a short while and hence termed as temporary magnetism. And the material in which magnetism is produced by the application of an electric current is called an electromagnet. And the magnetic property of the material is lost when the electric current is switched off. And the materials in which the property of magnetism is permanent are called permanent magnets. Thank you, dear students.